RealTalk with Joe Skousen.
Chris McGoldrick,
Joe,
C-Mac,
how are
as we
you?
like to call you around here. It's good to hang out with you as always. And we've kind of jumped on before and talked plenty of times about all these AI trends and kind of what what it's doing to the space and how it's transforming things. I mean, you've been kind of living this for a long time.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think again, as you say, we've obviously had a lot of these chats before, and we've been in the industry about 3 years, and obviously a very proud member of the IRE team now. There's been a huge amount of noise. That time frame has involved things like the launch of ChatGPT and other competing offerings as well. So it's been a really interesting and frankly incredible journey watching the adoption. Some companies really nailing it, some companies not so much. We've been really firm in our positioning of trying to build the most trusted AI business in the industry, which I think has been a really great differentiator for us and has aligned super well with IRE and kind of the business that you guys have built so successfully over so many years.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. Timing couldn't have been better. I think it was the perfect kind of time for some of this in the industry. You know, as you think about AI, obviously everyone is seeing it. Everyone's kind of living some AI experiences in their lives. One of the things that, we were talking internally the other day and saying, man, how big is this trend? How important is this trend? And when you look back at really kind of like market shifting technology trends, whether it's kind of like in 2002, AWS launches and it was cloud computing and it was on-prem to cloud, that was a major shift. But I think it took 2 decades to kind of work through all the businesses out there, right? Like it took a while. And
Yeah.
same thing with the desktop to mobile shift, where you saw kind of every business had to kind of have mobile experiences and kind of embrace that. Again, it took a decade to kind of do that. But this AI trend, we now hit the other day. I don't know if you've got the latest numbers. The latest ones I have the other day were 70% of all social media images now are AI generated. And that this has been 18 months. Like it hasn't taken very
Totally.
long.
No, it's such a valid point, and I think even going back to the end of 2022 when ChatGPT did launch, which is what really put AI on the radar of, I suppose, the average person, right? But I think those metrics were something like 100 million users in the first month or maybe 2 months, whatever it was the fastest business in history to 100 million users, which to your point is just unlike anything we've ever seen before. And when it comes to technology, that we don't have a much of a track record of it going backwards, right? Once the
That's
toothpaste
right.
is out of the tube, it ain't going back in. So those numbers have continued to grow exponentially since then. And yeah, it's not something that's going backwards anytime soon.
Yeah, no, it's been incredible. The big place that List Assist was focused, the big place we've been working on together is really around search. How does AI interface with search? Why search? Why do you focus there? And what's the big problem to solve on that front?
I think just as I was spending more and more time in the US, learning more about the industry, we got some really good kind of partners and working relationships early that enabled us to go really deep in their business and understand the pain points and kind of the day-to-day struggles. And there were a couple of particular dynamics that really led us to go particularly hard down the search space. One was the obvious one, which is just the power that the portals have, right? And that kind of superior online experience at the time they had to a lot of websites in the space made it very hard to justify why a consumer would start on your website and not a portal. And a consumer didn't really care or perhaps wasn't even aware that 40% at times of the agent's commission is having to be paid to the portals, right?
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
was a really strong kind of driver as well in terms of market dynamics. But really, possibly even bigger than that, was just the nature of what searching for a property is. It's just filled with filters, drop downs, and essentially starting with the zip code, which, with the speed of technology we're talking about, it really didn't make sense why this experience was not changing, right? Like for most real estate websites, your search experience starts by having to enter the zip code of a property. And that is their first interaction most of your kind of prospects or consumers get when they come to your website and are being introduced to your brand. And, at the end of the day, consumers, even prior to this kind of massive AI boom, they're used to coming online and just typing what it is that they want and kind of getting results that match that, right? So
Yeah.
this home experience, I mean, it's almost like if you wanted a cozy woolen sweater and you had to go online and start by picking the sheep farm that you wanted the wool from. Like it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So what we tried to move to was creating this experience where a consumer essentially can come to your website and just describe exactly what it is that they want in a home. Lifestyle factors can be included in that as well, as we've talked about previously, and really bring the consumer search experience into 2025. And that does a couple of key things, right? Now, for the first time in a long time for a lot of people, it's a better search experience than what you'll get on any of the portals. So, when fighting for up to 40% of your commission, like you need to give a consumer a reason to start their property journey with you. And with search being the first kind of thing most people do when it comes to this real estate experience, finally, there is a reason to do that. So, yeah, those are kind of, I mean, that's a long-winded way of kind of explaining, I suppose, how we got into the search space and took it so deep. But there's some great market dynamics that have really made it make sense.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing, it's kind of they who own the search own the consumer experience. If you really can kind of drive that search experience and engage from the search experience, you own the consumer experience really, and the whole consumer life cycle, because that's such a fundamental part of how they kind of how they work with you, right? And
Absolutely.
one of the stats that I saw recently is already folks who have been able to successfully engage with intelligent AI agentic experiences online, retailers are seeing something like 30% higher conversion rates. It's dramatically changing the outcomes of the search experiences all over the place out there, right? And home search is like that was like the OG, that was like the original search experience, right?
Absolutely. And I think, to that metric as well, consumers are feeling heard more than ever, because they can just come in and say what they want and get results that
Yep.
match exactly that. And I think too, you have to think if your competitor is offering our AI search through BoldTrail, getting this totally unique experience, but not just that, getting these, totally bespoke follow-up search alerts really being heard. If your competitor is offering that in your market, do you really think a consumer is going to come to your website the next day and start with a zip code? Like this expectation is moving and moving quickly that a consumer should just be able to search like this. As I mentioned, technology doesn't have much of a habit of slowing down. So, I think if you're kind of in the real estate space, this is something you need to be taking very seriously.
Well, and you mentioned a zip code search, and whether it's a zip code or a city or a neighborhood boundary, search the search experiences have long had like the geographical areas that we've been getting better and better at over the last number of years. But I'll tell you what hasn't gotten easier over the last number of years is the hundreds of checkboxes and options and pools and lifestyle trends and view options and all of these different things. I mean, for those of us who have been in the space for a long time, you've got hundreds of feeds, and you're trying to kind of get all of the features for a feed, let alone multiple feeds, and you're trying to kind of bubble that up and make a simple experience out of it. And it's still for most of the sites out there, it's still been kind of a nightmare. It's tough, and your agents can't figure it out, let alone your consumers figuring those things out. And yet, it's the majority of consumer searches include those features. That's actually what they want. They're looking for these lifestyle kind of options and filters and those sorts of things. And so, I mean, that's really where AI shines, isn't it, Chris?
Absolutely, I so agree, and I think a really important differentiator for us too, and you being in the space so long will attest to this, is that so many of these technical innovations that have come into the industry over the last, even 5 to 10 years, they're often only as good as the agent inputs, right? And when it comes to using things like those check boxes, as you mentioned, if the agent hasn't selected the right boxes, if they've missed that there's a fireplace or even a pool, sometimes in the extreme examples we see, those properties are just falling through the cracks. Whereas what separates us is we're enriching the data. We're not relying solely on agent inputs at the point of them uploading their properties on the MLS. We're able to add layers on layers to this property information to really enable us to best match the property with the right consumer. So, as I say, we've seen a lot of products, I think, that haven't had the cut through that they might have because they've relied too heavily on agent processes and inputs. And that's a step and requirement that we've just totally removed here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, here's some of the data out there, guys. 59%, about 60% of home shoppers, home buyers, potential home buyers are more likely, more willing to move with a good lifestyle fit. If they can find that good lifestyle fit, right? And it's over 70% of people now, when they're searching or engaging with their technology, do you know how they do it? They do it like this. They hold up their phone, they speak into the device, right? And so the difference, you're likely missing in the world we're in today. This isn't the world 2 or 3 years from now. This is the world we're in today. You're likely missing 2 out of 3 people that would otherwise engage more deeply with your search, more deeply with you, more deeply with your team or your brand, if you've got the right search. That's why. That's like why we're investing so heavily here. It's why we're so excited about kind of the launch of some of these things. Is it's really I think it's a game changer, Chris, isn't it?
Absolutely. And prior to the acquisition, which happened earlier this year, we already had some of the biggest brands in real estate using, the List Assist home search product. Brands like Howard Hanna, Gary Ashton's Remax team, which is the top Remax in the world. What is coming with BoldTrail is a series of kind of essentially add-ons which just supercharge the information we're able to generate from the search. As I mentioned earlier, that includes alerts, follow-ups, heightened engagement, all of these things that are going to take your business to another level and things which are going to continue to separate you in your market. And, I've had this happen lots with real estate lists I'm on. I get emails, database emails saying, Chris, here's some homes you might be interested in. Here's a studio apartment, a 5-bedroom house, a 2-bed condo. These people don't know me at all. They have no idea what it is that I'm looking for in a home. All of that is changing with what our AI home search is able to do, the information we're able to get from the consumer and how we're able to engage with them going forward, which ensures that they're being heard. Your ability to connect with them becomes significantly greater because you just have all this extra information on what it is they truly want.
Yeah.
So your ability to add value and quickly is unlike anything before.
Yeah, I love that. Tell me this, Chris, as you've seen a lot of these searches, you've tested, the tech a lot. What are the types of things that stand out to you that you've seen as like you guys were originally building as we've been testing some of this stuff together? What are some of the searches that you're like, man, that was great? Like that's so cool.
Yeah.
What stands out to you is like, man, that's super cool.
So I think it's a really great question. I could go on about this for a long time. What always gets me particularly excited is, requests that you just know cannot be essentially utilized on any other real estate website. So we had, especially with everything happening in the market, around interest rates, we have quite a few pop-up people requesting assumable loans, which
Hmm.
again, I think is such an amazing sort of piece of information to get because I don't know how many conversations it ultimately would take between agent and consumer to get to that point or that level of understanding. But your ability to get that sort of information prior is so unique. we get things like princess castles or castles fit for a princess, all of those sorts of things, we have kind of show
That's
up.
what I'm
Um,
shopping for, is a princess castle. Chris,
it
is this so much to
totally,
ask?
yeah,
So much to
absolutely.
ask.
We did, unfortunately, we had one recently. A gentleman asked for a home that would be good for someone that's just been broken up with. So, we really do get
Yeah,
people opening up
look,
about
that's a
what's
real
going
need.
on in their
That
lives.
could be a real need.
And again, getting that information really enables you as an agent to come and bring so much more immediate value.
Yeah. Well, I love it. We were asking, I'll tell you some of my ahas as we've been playing with it, but I'll also share some that we've gotten from some of our early community of testers. That's some of the stuff that we've been able to work with, is not just ourselves, but our community as well. Um, but some things that have stood out to me, I'll tell you what I've loved. I've loved clicking the microphone button, speaking my search, letting it go, and letting the thing just, it does its thing. And I'm like searching everything. I'm searching all the features. I'm searching, and it's so good at bringing the structured search together with the AI search. And it brings it together. Most of the other kind of very early, some people, they get excited and they rush to market with an AI search and they weren't that good. This is just phenomenal. It's been like so seamless. But I'll tell you what else really struck me, as I was like, man, that was easy. And then when I added another filter, I just spoke to it again. I spoke to it again. I spoke to it again. I'm like, dude, this is how I want to search for homes. That was like just the experience of going through and not having to like fuss with all of the filter check boxes. So simple. It was so simple.
Yeah, and that is actually something right from kind of our early customers with our home search product that was surprising to me, was the level of kind of search iteration, doing exactly what you said. And that can be a range of different things, right? Like we had some funny ones in LA that people wanted a 4 or 5 bed house in Beverly Hills with a pool and a view, and you'd quickly see them go, "Oh, maybe a condo in Beverly
Yeah,
Hills."
yeah,
Once
yeah.
the
Let me
prices,
narrow this
they
down. Yeah,
might
let
sort
me
of
change
change
that.
their
Yeah,
view there. But also things like they might put in a series of requests and then ask for it with a pool, and then go, actually, it doesn't have to have a pool if it's in that area. All those kinds of iterations. And as you say, the seamlessness of it, as opposed to like, I guess I'm back to the 100 checkboxes trying to find,
yeah,
how to take that thing out or put that thing back in. Yeah, and we have seen in the space as well, a lot of companies, I feel like, rushing AI products to market. There is such a which you kind of touched on that rushing piece earlier. There's such a almost optics piece around AI that I feel brands are rushing to get things out, often in the search space as well. And often their biggest motive, to be honest, it seems, is just to say that they're in the AI game.
yeah.
Where, I've continued to be, amazed at the IRE experience. So, as I mentioned, I feel like we were the most credible AI search company in the market before, we were acquired by IRE. Having those brands like Howard Hanna, as I mentioned, using it, some of the biggest brands in American real estate. For the sake of your customers or anyone thinking of switching to BoldTrail, for context, post acquisition was IRE's Unite conference, and Joe and the team flew our team over there. That's the event where all of the top BoldTrail customers are there. We were in rooms with customers, going through what it's going to look like, taking on their feedback, showing them existing customers. And over the last few months have been continuing to iterate, but not only that, work with power users to make sure that this experience is just how they want it, and we're going to hit the ground running. Like, I feel like if one company could have just quickly switched this on and we'd be away, it would be you, right? But for you, that total commitment to customers and being able to deliver from day dot, prioritizing that over the optics of, AI announcements, I think has just been amazing. And it's just going to be, an awesome experience for Bold Trail users.
Well, I appreciate that, Chris, and I really think it will. And what was important to us, and you and I were aligned on this. What was important to us is that we leverage the trillion data points we have, and the hundreds of thousands of websites, and the hundreds of millions of consumer searches that we run, to leverage all of that data to really train and hone and refine the search experience and the search outcomes. Because really, in this day, in this market, anyone can kind of take the AI paintbrush and paint something they have with the AI paintbrush. It's not that hard to attach AI to something. What is hard is to get the outcomes like that and that experience. And that's what's been so phenomenal here. But CMAC, I got to ask you. So we've got these really cool things coming out. And look, we're kind of like, if you don't have BoldTrail in the new search, you need to go get, but not everyone can kind of backflip overnight and go change their entire system. Some will be able to, and we'll help them do that. We'll make that as seamless as possible. Especially if I'm a larger enterprise, I may not be able to kind of do that overnight. How do you think about that? In this new world of like, hey, maybe I want to move over to the BoldTrail search and the AI search solutions. How do I do it in the meantime? What can I do?
Absolutely. So, we've talked about it a couple of times, some of the key brands that we have using List Assist and using our AI search, and that was prior to the IRE acquisition. We're still able to service those customers, update features as we continue moving forward. And that option exists for anyone not using BoldTrail as well. So that essentially is just adding an additional search bar to your website and enabling List Assist AI search. That's going to be continued. John L. Scott is another major brand we have coming live in the next few days, most likely. Again, they don't have any pre-existing relationship with IRE. So if you're not using BoldTrail, if you're not a part of the IRE ecosystem, the List Assist AI search option exists for you. Please feel free to get in touch with me. What I will also add is, you mentioned a lot of people are not prepared to kind of throw out existing tech. We are getting a lot of people that, in fact, are prepared to do that. We're getting a lot of requests on that. So if you are in that boat, we can work with that too and contact us. And yeah, I mean, I think the reason for those sorts of people we're getting is they are of the view that with an inferior search experience than a portal and a whole lot less properties, why would a consumer start on your website and not the portal? And they're looking at our AI search as now the reason why people would. So I think if you are, considering changing tech, that's a great option. Also, if you're not, we are proven with some of the biggest brands in real estate that aren't working with IRE. So that is something we can happily cater to.
Well, and to that point, I mean, there's the AI search experiences themselves. We can bring that to really anyone out there one way or another. The other area that we're super excited about are the search alerts and the AI alerts, where you can really go and drive kind of 5 times, maybe as high as 10 times the conversations from a database as we apply this intelligence to your existing contacts and database. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important point as well. And it's almost like any business when you're on some sort of email list. I always feel like you never get bothered at the frequency of emails if they're truly relevant to you, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
there are email lists I'm part of where I get emails just about every day, it feels like, but they are relevant to me. There's the odd thing I bought a t-shirt from a year ago, and every time I get an email from them, which might be once every 2 months, I'm like, what the heck are these guys doing? So this really, like we've talked a lot about how search alerts are the biggest driver for website traffic. And you kind of mentioned the 5 to 10x increase through search alerts and engagements. And we're starting to see that more and more as we go through our testing period as well with our early adopters. So
yeah.
it's that same thing. You need to give people a reason not only to start their property journey on your website, but to keep coming back. And the best way to do that is keeping them updated with relevant properties that speak to their needs and their lifestyle desires as well, as we've spoken about.
Yeah. Well, and this is where the rubber really hits the road on the results, right? This is where you start to see this very different set of results, even more, even multiplied even more. And so we're seeing this 5x the conversations, 10x the conversations, just a huge lift in engagement because it's finding the areas and the facets of people's interest and the lifestyle and the search that they otherwise can't find and the system otherwise wouldn't be able to engage them with. So it's very exciting. We're still very early days, and yet it's picking up momentum very quickly. What else would you leave people with, Chris?
I think too, like, we talk a lot about, the alerts, but there's also just the wealth of information that you're getting in terms of the broader trends in your market as well, right? So, we see, like in a lot of areas, we see pool being one of the most requested features. We see a range of different property types, things like the assumable loans I've mentioned, but we actually deliver reporting as well that further helps position you as a leader in your market, right? So
Yeah.
you build this deep understanding of exactly what's happening in your market. And again, other people just don't have that because if you're not enabling this type of AI search, you have no way of knowing that. So, there are benefits through every part of kind of your real estate journey as an agent or as a team through offering this product, across your website. And, even if they have particularly obscure search requests that we can't match to a property, well, you still know that about that consumer now, right? That property may not exist in the area that they're looking for or whatever the scenario may be, but there's so much power in knowing that, Joe wants to be in a princess castle now. And no one knew that until this call started 30 minutes ago. So we may not
You
have
know
a
how many
princess
comments I'm
castle.
going to get from people? They're like Princess Castle, Uh,
Well, we may not have one to give Joe right now, but we all can agree
we
we
are
know
going
a
to
lot
find it if it's
about Joe.
there. We're going to find it if it's
Yeah,
there. Um,
yeah.
Chris, very exciting stuff. The points here are, it is here. The future has arrived. AI search is powerful, and you can go and move your business forward. The truth is, folks who do not have this kind of technology are, unfortunately, they're going to be kind of the dinosaurs. They're going to be following. You've said that before. I've heard you say that before. um,
Yeah.
but this is kind of the path and the journey forward, and it's super exciting that it's here. And really, where we go next, where do we go next with technology and the search experiences, Chris?
Well, as we talked about it doesn't slow down, and yeah, I think not adopting technology like this, you will very quickly become a dinosaur. Dare I say it, the Kodak of the real estate space, which we don't want to go down that path. But once you get a consumer to come and start searching like this, continue updating them with relevant results and alerts. The chances of them being interested in talking with other agents or feeling the need to go on the portals is very unlikely, right? If you're delivering that first class market leading experience, everyone else is going to be playing catch up. And, we're continuing to talk a lot internally about how we can kind of further deepen these relationships, layer on further AI capabilities. I don't think I've had a conversation with you, Joe, where you haven't talked about your customer, right? Which is the real estate agent and team. And I know that's going to be the continued focus as we roll out more features and functionality that just make your lives and your ability to get business done a whole lot easier. So there'll be a lot coming forward. We're laser focused on this at the moment and further executing on this now that it's available. But we're going to keep pushing and keep kind of your team and your brokerage at the head of the game when it comes to AI and customer experience.
I love it. Well, we're very excited about where we're taking all this stuff. And, AI will not replace the real estate agent, but the real estate agent using AI will absolutely replace the real estate agent who is not. And we are very excited about where it's going. CMAC, thanks.
Thank you very
Fantastic.
much.
Look forward to
Thanks
talking to you
everyone for
again soon.
watching.